She never shouted, never fought back, yet her silence destroyed everything he built. The night was slow and heavy, the wind whispered secrets against the broken glass of her window, and she sat by the edge of the wooden chair, her fingers tracing the small scar on her palm like a memory that refused to fade. The house was silent except for the ticking of a clock that had stopped working years ago, yet it ticked still in her mind, echoing the rhythm of days that had passed without meaning. Every sound felt like a reminder, every shadow a ghost of what once was. She had learned long ago that silence could speak louder than words, and revenge could bloom quietly in the heart, without noise, without fire, only the soft persistence of pain. Once there had been laughter here, bright morning sunlight spilling through thin curtains, a voice calling her name with warmth, and she had believed in forever. Then came the betrayal, so soft, so ordinary that she almost missed it. The small change in tone, the distance in his eyes, the way his promises began to taste like lies. She had smiled then, not because she forgave, but because she understood. Understanding was colder than anger, sharper than grief. She said nothing, she simply watched as he left, piece by piece, his love dissolving into air like mist over water. The world did not end that day, though it felt like it. Instead, it turned slower, heavier. She learned to move through it quietly. She spoke little, she smiled often. People said she had become calmer, wiser, but they did not see the storm that lived beneath her skin. They did not feel the tremor that ran through her heart when she remembered the sound of his laughter with another woman, the same laughter that once belonged to her. Days became months, months into years, and she built her life again stone by stone, but never forgot the weight of betrayal. She carried it like a secret song only she could hear. She did not curse him, did not try to ruin him. She let time do what it does best, reveal the truth without mercy. He thought she had forgotten. She let him believe it. She let him live comfortably in the illusion that she was gone, that her silence meant surrender, but in her silence she was building something unseen. One morning she saw him again on a street where the sun was cruel and bright. He looked older, thinner, eyes hollowed by something he could not name. She smiled softly as she passed him by, and in that smile there was everything he had taken and everything she had become. Stronger, quieter, colder. She had learned that sometimes the sweetest revenge is to heal in front of the one who broke you. That night she sat again by her window, her heart no longer trembling. The air was still, the moon a pale witness to her calm. She thought of him not with anger but with distance, a quiet distance that no apology could cross. She whispered to the wind, not words, not curses, just breath, and the night seemed to listen. She had found peace not in forgiveness but in the quiet victory of surviving. And though no one saw it, though no one spoke of it, the world shifted slightly around her, balance restored, a wound closed in silence. The morning came like a soft breath, the air light with the scent of rain. The world outside was quiet, and she felt the weight of years slowly lifting from her shoulders. She walked barefoot across the wooden floor, her steps gentle like whispers. Every sound carried a story, every beam of light seemed to touch her skin with memory. She had changed, not in the way the world measured change, but in the small invisible ways that only pain could teach. She had learned patience, she had learned to smile through silence, she had learned that revenge was not always destruction, sometimes it was creation, the rebuilding of oneself piece by fragile piece. People who once pitied her now spoke of her strength. They said she glowed with peace. They did not know that peace was born of fire, that calmness was shaped by storms. She had faced nights when the sky was endless and cruel, when loneliness clawed at her ribs, and yet she had endured. She had survived without noise, without demand, and that survival itself became her revenge, for he had expected her to crumble, to vanish into the shadow of his betrayal, but she remained a quiet flame that refused to fade. He saw her sometimes across crowded rooms, across years that had made strangers of them, and each time his eyes followed her like questions left unanswered. He wondered how she could smile after everything, how she could walk with such calm after the chaos he had left behind, but she never looked back, she never spoke his name again, for names had power and she had taken his away from her story. Her silence grew like roots, steady, deep, unshakable. She poured her heart into work, into kindness, into the small beauty of ordinary days. She learned to find comfort in simple things, the sound of rain on glass, the smell of old books, the warmth of morning tea. She did not chase happiness, yet it found her quietly sitting beside her one dusk when the light turned gold and soft and she realized she was free, truly free. But the world has a way of circling back, and one evening she received a letter written in a familiar hand, trembling, unsure. It spoke of regret and loneliness, of time lost and dreams broken. He wrote that he thought of her often, that he wished to see her once more, that he had never found peace since the day he walked away. She read the words slowly, each one like a shadow from the past, and when she reached the end she smiled, not with cruelty but with understanding. She placed the letter beside the window, the wind catching its edges as if eager to carry it away. She did not reply. She owed him nothing, not even anger. Her silence would speak again more clearly than any word could, the kind of silence that holds truth like a mirror and lets the guilty see themselves within it. That night she dreamed of water endless and deep. She stood on its edge, calm, unafraid. The reflection staring back was not the woman who had been broken, but the one who had learned how to rise. And the water whispered softly, its voice like memory, saying, "You have won without fighting, you have spoken without words." And as she woke to the grey hush of dawn, she felt the quiet power that only comes when the heart stops needing revenge and becomes its own justice. The sun rose slow and gentle, spilling gold across the room. She sat by the window again, the same place where years ago she had held her pain like a secret flame. Now she held peace instead, her eyes soft, her hands steady. She had become a quiet ocean, vast and still. Nothing could shake her anymore. She had learned that time was the only truth teller, that silence was the loudest answer of all. Outside, the street carried voices of life, children laughing, people walking, the sound of a world moving on. She had joined that rhythm once more, without bitterness, without fear. There was strength in her stillness, the kind that did not need to prove itself, the kind that simply was. Her reflection on the glass showed not loss but grace, and the faintest smile curved her lips, the kind of smile that comes when every wound has become a story instead of a scar. He appeared one afternoon, uninvited, unexpected, his face tired, his eyes searching as if he could still find the girl he once betrayed. But she was gone. She had been buried beneath the weight of his lies, and from her ashes this woman had risen, calm and distant. He spoke softly, his voice uncertain, asking for forgiveness, asking for something he could not name. And she listened, not out of pity but because she no longer felt pain. She let his words fall between them like rain that could no longer reach her skin. When he finished she nodded, not in agreement, not in anger, but in quiet release. She told him that life has its own way of balancing everything, that he did not need her forgiveness to find peace, he needed only to face himself, truly face himself. Her words were soft, yet they struck like truth. Always as he looked at her with regret in his eyes, realizing that the gentleness before him was his greatest loss. As he left she felt no triumph, only clarity. Revenge had never been about hurting him, it had been about reclaiming herself, about standing whole in the ruins and building again. She watched him disappear into the fading light, and she whispered to the wind, "Let it end," and the wind carried her whisper away like a final song. Night came again, quiet, tender, the sky deep and endless. She sat beneath it, her heart unburdened. She thought of how life had taken her through fire only to make her gold. She thought of all the nights she had cried and how every tear had shaped her into this woman who needed no witness for her victory. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly, her mind calm, her soul steady. In that silence she felt the world turning gently around her, every star above her like a memory that no longer hurt. She had lived, she had endured, she had loved and lost, and yet she had become more than any of it. She was not the victim, not the avenger, she was the silence that remained after the storm, pure, strong, unshakable. And somewhere deep within her a quiet voice rose, a voice that had waited all these years. It said softly, "You did not need to scream to be heard, you did not need to fight to win. Your peace was your power, your calm was your revenge." And with that she smiled again, that same small knowing smile, as the night embraced her in its stillness, and the story of her heart closed, not with anger, not with sorrow, but with a gentle truth that the quiet revenge no one saw coming was simply her becoming whole again.